Welcome back. The rand slightly firmer in early trade before the release of US jobs data due later in the session. That'll give us a hint of what's happening in the US economy. The currency losing more than 5% against the dollar in a highly volatile August. The Chief Investment Officer at Benguela Global Fund Managers, Zwelakhe Mnguni, joins us now for a wrap of the latest from the markets. Zwelakhe, good afternoon to you. What's going on with the rand? It's been up and down, bit of a roller coaster. What's driving sentiment? Zwelakhe, I'm going to ask you just to unmute this Friday lunchtime, if you don't mind.
Hi, Stephen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks. What's driving sentiment on the rand?
Thank you. I think what the market's grappling with in the currency markets is the direction of the dollar. Whether we're going to see interest rates being held at high levels in the U.S., while many of the other countries may start stepping down probably in the first quarter of 2024. I think that direction is highly dependent on interest rates. So the dollar moves, strengthens if there is an expectation of sustained higher interest rates, and it moves lower if there is an expectation that interest rates are going to be cut in the near future. And I think some of the things that have been driving that has been the fact that the jobs market seem to be slowing down. They're still growing, but the growth rate has slowed down in the U.S. I also think that the consumer inflation numbers that have been coming through in the last 2 months have been showing signs of significant moderation. So it is a volatile environment for the rand in that current situation.
And our trade balance surprised in July, a much stronger trade surplus than expected, but still some sort of concerns that in fact this data won't change the expectations of a general weakening of the trade and current account balances, and that's because of our supply side constraints.
Yeah, I think in simple terms, what happened was the imports declined and then the exports rose. So basically, you had the opening up of the jaws there. So basically, we exported more vehicles and imported less machinery into the country. And the change between those two factors actually had a major contribution. And as you said, the market was probably expecting a slight deficit, and it turned out to be a surplus. So it puts us in a position where for year to date, we are still in a surplus, but the rate of surplus has been declining. I mean, as we saw in June, the numbers were quite negative, and the July numbers actually offset that. So we are looking good for year to date, but the question is whether on a forward-looking basis we would be able to continue with the surplus. And that rests with the commodities, whether we are able to get commodities, there's still demand for commodities, and whether we are able to get them out of ports to be able to export them.
And then at the Absa Purchasing Managers Index up by 2.4 points to 49.7 in August, still below 50. What drove the increase?
So it looks like, there was a bit of a restocking, but there is still concern that, it's below 50, which means it is contracting, but it's contracting at a very smaller rate than what we saw in the past few months. I think that one of the factors that contributed is that you had the strike in Cape Town. Those impacted on consumption, and therefore the orders that are the purchasing managers placed were a lot less compared to the prior months.
Truworths International publishing their results yesterday for the year to the end of the 2nd of July. Quite tough in term for some retailers. How have they fared?
Yeah, look, I think the environment is tough for everybody, but I thought their numbers were quite credible. They've improved quite meaningfully, and I think the share price responded to that. I think they grew revenues by about 7%, and their headline earnings per share by about 11%. I think in between there, what we saw was improvement in cost management. We also saw that there was a rise in impairment, so people starting to pay them on the credit side. But credit is about 50% of the business. And then you also saw that there was a strong recovery in the UK business office. So I think it grew about 17%. And then with the rand weakening 7% against the pound, that also gave them a benefit. But broadly speaking, I thought the numbers were positive. The environment is still challenging. Management commented that the environment is very, very challenging, and they remain cautious. But I think the base is set now, and with the load shedding probably being addressed to some extent through renewables, I think we'd likely see us building this as a base and then growing from here for most of the retail sector.
Zwelakhe Mnguni from Benguela Global Fund Managers, really do appreciate the time today.